Are you looking for a stripper? A stripper that really gets it off? Cooper's, the stripper that gets it off every time. No sanding, so easy. None of that toxic, messy dust floating around. Today we're in Nelson and we're going to be stripping this section of weatherboard. George is spraying up some surface here, probably about a square metre of. First thing we've got to do is take off what's on top of all the timber. So this first layer of paint is acrylic. And being thin, once it absorbs in, it will generally need another coat to back it up. Now often when we come and look at projects, we find that there's all sorts of different paints on. There's never just one type of paint. Mostly what we find is lead at the bottom, coated by enamel, coated by acrylic on top. Now, if George puts more stripper on top of these bubbles, he's just going to be throwing the product away. So when you get paint that breaks away from the layers underneath, we need to get rid of those so that new stripper can get access to the layers underneath. The extra length of handle means you don't have to actually put much pressure on the blade to do the job. George is not trying to take off the hard paint underneath. If you start making it into flakes and chips and dust, you'll start spreading that round and you're likely to have lead going where it's not supposed to be. So that's most of the acrylic gone. More stripper. This time we're getting at the enamel paint, and we've also got access now to the lead. This system is wet, so there's no lead dust, and it's all controlled. You can see the sheeting on the ground, so it's easily contained. So we say it's a controlled mess, but basically we're going to be able to get all this paint off and not have any of that go into the ground. So with our stripper, we do put a few applications on, but each application's thin, and so you're not going through the sort of product you might think you are. You can see up here, these are probably enamel bubbles, but these layers down here are the lead, and lead won't bubble. It looks like it's doing nothing, but it actually is turning into a paste. Typically, under the edges, it's thicker. When you're painting, you generally take the paintbrush out of the can. The first place you put it is in there. It's out of the can and boof into these parts. So these are usually thicker than the parts here. And also these parts here get more weathering as rain comes down over time. There's more and more wear and tear at that bottom parts. Give yourself a bit of time to get the hang of it. Different paint combinations, the different amount of sun that's been smashing into it. The reason I've masked up here is we've got powder coating. These inserted windows, you've got white powder coat on top of the aluminium, and our stripper loves powder coating. It'll strip that off. If your windows are anodized aluminium, then it won't touch it. See how the paint hasn't blistered? It's all just looks like, almost in some cases, like it hasn't done anything. We seem to think stripper should always have bubbles, but different paints do different things, and lead paint turns into like toothpaste. So we've just got a few little spots to go here. The more paint you leave on, the more trouble you're going to have with future paint. So now we're moving into the part two, stripping what's in the surface. So it's like a nylon pad with a grit that's been embedded into it. That's why we call it a grit embedded pad. And so we're giving it now a wet scrub. So everything's damp. We don't want to scrub it dry, so you see George is giving it the odd puff. Most weatherboard houses we see are variations of this method. So this is the same method as if you were doing your windows. Now, when you're doing outside jobs like this, we don't use our steel wool. Our packs, you'll see, have steel wool in them. The steel wool is used for scrubbing the stripper if you're doing an inside job, like the doors, the skirtings, that sort of thing, windows inside. When you're doing outside projects, like the weatherboards, windows, you use these pads. If you get bits of metal caught in the wood, you're just going to get little rust dots coming through your new paint. So just give it a quick wipe over to get rid of any surface goo. Now for the eagle-eyed person out there, you'll notice the colour of the liquid's changed. This is our flusher, and this is the last part. It's not neutralizing anything. This is not a neutralizer. It is a rinse. And we're rinsing away residues of paint. We're rinsing away residues of stripper. And it will leave the wood clean, dry, and absorbent. It will be a bit of a shame to paint over it, but there you are. It's quite amazing how clean it comes up. So we usually say spray, scrub, spray, wipe. And this is your no sanding part.
Get your blade, get your rag, strap it over it, and then you insert it into the groove and you just drag. And that just pulls out all that gunk.
And so as soon as it's dry, it's ready for painting. And so the absolute key that I always rave on about is what you want is a clean, dry, absorbent surface. And that's what you get here.